My name is Nick Astor. I'm the founder and publisher of TriplePundit.com. We describe ourselves as a media platform for the conversation on sustainability in business, which is a terribly long way of saying we write about sustainability for a business audience. We define that kind of loosely. It means we cover the issue from the perspective of both small startups, entrepreneurs, small organizations, all the way up to big corporations, and what they all are doing, or in some cases not doing, vis-a-vis sustainability, communicating about sustainability, defining sustainability, and everything in between. This event is an offshoot of a monthly event that we host in San Francisco. That's where we're based. That's where we live, except for Mary, who's our editor there, who's here in Philly. Wave to everybody. Basically, Stories and Beer is an opportunity to create a conversation around some topic relevant to our audience. It changes every month, and we've gotten so much interest in the conversation. We broadcast it on our YouTube channel. Several million people are watching this right now, or at least several. Much I can guarantee. And that other folks have approached us and said, "Can you come to town and put on something?" And so we decided to do it. So tonight's our inaugural. We're not in San Francisco. Stories and Beer, and I want to thank all of you guys in Philadelphia for welcoming us here. We're having a great time and eager to get to know you a little bit better and get to know the city and all of that. And so the purpose of the format tonight is really casual. It's more about you guys than it is about us. And so as we get to the point where I'll introduce tonight's panelists, I'll just be asking just a few questions to kind of get things rolling, but then it's really up to you guys. So we want you to come up with some brilliant questions and for us to really have much more of a conversation than a presentation. So you'll be called upon soon, so get ready to ask something smart, okay? Without further ado, tonight's subject we cooked up because it's something that's constantly asked of us. And we talk about sustainability all the time, but we don't necessarily always think to define sustainability and to talk about how we would actually measure sustainability. And if you're a company and you're out there talking about how great you are and how you do recycling, and you do this and you do that, which is wonderful, you know, some things are kind of easy to measure, like energy, but some things are really intangible and difficult. The positive impact on the community, some other environmental metrics, and so on. When we talk about that question, a lot of things have sort of popped up to try to start answering that question. So certifications in particular, in the green building space, we have LEED, we have things like fair trade, we have organic, we have B Corp, for example, based right outside Philadelphia here. In fact, most of our panelists are B Corps or involved with B Corps in an important way. And so we thought that reaching out to the B Corp community would be a great way to kick off that conversation here in Philly. And so without further ado, I'm going to ask Katie Oberwager to come on up and tell us a little bit about what is a B Corp. Give us the short and sweet introduction.
I should try to do that, although sometimes it gets a little complicated. I'm curious though, just to get a show of hands, who knows what a B Corp is? Okay. There you go for everyone. I'm done. Yeah, there you go. For those who don't, or those who just want a refresher, B Corp.
Since everyone's familiar, give us the latest, the update.
Sure, I can do that as well. B Corps are for-profit companies that are measuring their social and environmental performance and then meeting some transparency requirements by putting their score that they get on our assessment and their company information on our website, bcorporation.net. The latest update is that we have 1,115 certified B corporations as of today in about 35 countries, which is really exciting. So we only recently kind of launched in a couple different countries, so that's been a growing part of what we've been doing. I work on the standards team, so I help companies that are going through the assessment and that are interested in the certification. Talk with some of the companies that are sitting up here, and then Sarah Haggerty works on our services team, so she helps companies once they become certified really get the most value out of their certification.
That's great.
Okay, yeah. In addition to the certification, we also work on benefit corporation legislation, which is a legal form similar to an S corp or a C corp that companies can incorporate as, which gives them the ability to take into account their stakeholders rather than just shareholder value. And then we're also working with some investors and business networks to measure their collective impact, and we work with investors to get peers ratings, just using the assessment to rate their portfolio companies on that scale of social and environmental performance.
Cool.
So feel free to ask me any questions before, during, and after, and Sarah's here as well.
Good. Well, just about to get started. I do want to give two shouts out, two folks that have helped us put on tonight's event. John News in the back there. He is the founder of the Hub. Anybody first time here at the Hub? A bunch. John, you want to give us the quick spiel of what the Hub's all about, and also why you're a B Corp, which I believe you are.
Sure. So welcome everyone. A lot of familiar faces here, and we have 3 facilities around the city, soon to be in 2 other cities, but this facility is the nation's first privately held green meat facility. And why we're a B Corp, a founding B Corp, is that we believe in the mission. And often as we talk to folks, I was telling Nick and Travis earlier that often say, I don't know if you really give a darn, you're standing on top of recycled carpet, or that we use wind power, but we believe that we can do good and do well, and that's why it's important to kind of align that for profit and still being responsible stewards of the environment. So it's just it's important for us to be rational business actors, but at the same time kind of not ravage the planet. We have to turn it over to our kids and grandkids. So it's great to have us here, and set it for the night. Thanks, Nick, for having us.
Thanks for having us. Second, Bethany, you want to come up and introduce yourself? Bethany's with Presidio Graduate School in San Francisco, a longtime partner of Triple Pundit, a school of which I am an alum, which I'm quite proud of. But I'm going to let you give the sales pitch to everybody here. And thanks for helping us get this rolling.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Bethany. I'm an alum of Presidio Graduate School as well, from the MBA program. I'm also Director of Admissions and Alumni Affairs. So I get the students coming and going programs. We offer an MBA, an MPA, dual degree, and certificates, all based in sustainability. We're a community of doers, of entrepreneurs, creative thinkers, looking at doing things differently, doing it from a systems thinking perspective and approach. So that shows up in entrepreneurs like Nick and others, also in Nicole, who's one of our current students. Nicole, I'm going to let everybody know, you come in from Philadelphia every month, so we do have a different kind of setup, different format. We are a low residency hybrid program, which means you can live anywhere and still come to San Francisco once a month to be in the classroom. Be happy to talk with you more about the program and the community and the curriculum after. Thanks.
Excellent. So you guys ready to get started? Okay. Short and sweet intros. I'm going to ask you guys each to just give us a little bit of background, but just to let everybody know, we wanted to get a variety of different companies here. So we really have 4 very different types of companies, all of whom have a B Corp theme that kind of runs through them, but there's still a huge amount of variety here. Like Tangi with United by Blue, and Robert Teetham with Azaveza. Did I pronounce it right? Azavia. Okay, excellent. So software. We have retail, we have software. We have Steve Hackman with One Village Coffee here in Philly, and then Dave Stankus with Campbell's. So we could have a large company perspective as well. So just give us a little bit of introduction of who you are, and to the best of your ability, define what sustainability means for your organizations. And why don't we just go down the line and start with you, Mike?
Okay. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, United by Blue, we're a Philadelphia-based outdoor lifestyle brand. We focus mainly on men's and women's apparel and accessories. And our mission is that for every product that we sell, we remove 1 pound of trash from the world's oceans and waterways by organizing and hosting beach cleanups and river cleanups all across the country. So I guess to me and to United by Blue, what sustainability is really about being sustainable in every aspect, responsible in every aspect of our business. So that goes down to the manufacturers that we work with who make the clothes, to the materials that we're putting into the apparel, and then to every aspect of our office space, as well as we run a cafe and clothing store in our underneath our offices, and that's become our first retail space, and doing things sustainably there as well kind of trickles down everything from using compostable cup. I think for us, there's always you should always be asking the question of how can I be more responsible and more sustainable, and that can, I feel like, apply to almost anything and any piece of the business. So for us, sustainability is just continually pushing and asking the question of how can we be more responsible.
Right. One Village Coffee is a family business, and it's we roast incredible coffee, sustainable coffee, meaning to us that there's no pesticides or chemicals used on the coffee when it's grown, and from there all the way until you consume it as the end user. We're 8 years into the business. Started to help initially a coffee farmer in Nigeria, believe it or not, and which we've helped quite a bit. But today I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. We're not a large roastery. We deliver to 40 coffee shops here in Philly. We go from New York City to Georgia, and coffee shops and 50 Whole Food markets use our product in 6 states. And but I think we were number 28 as far as B Corp certified. So we're a chartered member. We have a nice plaque in our facility. That we felt right in line with that, and that Art Houlihan in one of the Whole Food markets here in town, and he was telling us all about what B Corp was about and what they wanted to do, and so we stayed in touch, and that's how that happened. We're very conscious of the environment. We use disposable cups when we do tastings. We have composting behind our warehouse, and we also are very much a give back company. We give back enough coffee for 100,000 meals to the homeless right down the street from here for about 5 years in Spring Garden and Penn Street. And we also are in right now in a project of bees, providing bees and beehives to over 1,000 farmers in Honduras. This project is out in 6 months, so we've we've sold over 8,000 bags of their coffee, and $1 from every bag goes to help with the bee and beehives. And Fair Trade's actually the people in there training them on the bee, doing a lot of teaching and training how to maintain, how to build the beehives out of their own wood and that type of thing. So,
yeah, that's great. Robert?
Zavi is a software company. We build geographic data analysis tools that might not seem like a B corporation type mission-driven company on the surface, but our mission is around applying that technology for civic and social impact. We work with a lot of different organizations around the world, primarily nonprofit organizations, local governments, federal agencies, and academic research projects. My simple definition of sustainability is to generate more value than you capture. That plays out in a lot of different ways, whether it's creating a really high quality environment for our employees, providing the best benefits we can afford, giving away a portion of our profits each year to nonprofit organizations, working on projects that have real meaning both for our staff and for the people working on it. We operate a program called Summer of Maps, whereby we invite nonprofit organizations to submit data analysis projects, and we provide, return that back around to students and the fellowships to match the students with the nonprofit organizations and provide a mentoring experience for the students with our staff. The whole range of things, it's a pretty broad range of work that we're doing, from climate change to water to homelessness analytics to public safety and crime analysis. So the main themes, though, are to giving back more than we capture, and a lot of different ways that we accomplish. We release a lot of our work under open source licenses. We share a lot of our results of our work. We turn our research into white papers. The goal is, when none of us are going to last here forever, everyone will leave something of a legacy.
Dave?
I mean, corporation. Well, I don't know. I manage public affairs and corporate responsibility with the soup company, which is a neighbor. I live down the street from Wayne, down the street from B Corps and Media. There's about 1,300 of us across the river. And brands like Covered Farm, David Sprinkle, Swanson, EA, Arnott's, Old House Farms. Then we'll get to the farm story in a second. But I think, kind of building off these comments, is I really view sustainability in my job as trying to integrate this thinking, sustainability thinking, whether it's driving sustainability. We have programs that range from sustainable agriculture and with our suppliers all the way through packaging and kind of everything. So almost all the way on the path, from employee volunteerism programs, social impact programs in the community in Canada and our planning communities. But it's really just trying to put all of this thinking into the business so it kind of runs and thinks that way. When we're coming up with new products, or we're building a new plant, or operating our operations. We've got a lot of solar and renewable installations around the country. It's more than most food companies out there. And then, this last story that we were talking about, the reason I think I'm even up here, is our relationship with B Corp and recent acquisition of Plum Organics. And, within 6 weeks after we purchased Plum, we helped them, really kind of a miracle in a big corporation, move them through public benefit corporation legislation in Delaware on day one. So there's a couple other similar models, but there's really only one U.S. publicly traded company that, incorporated public benefit corporation within it as a subsidiary of this club. Neil Rivers, the president, and he and I love the model. We're out there trying to promote it, share the experiences, and figure out what we can learn and learn from.
Terrific. Okay, so two-part question. This is a difficult one to answer quickly, but I'll ask it anyway. All of you have talked about a variety of different things, some similarities, but there's a lot of different things here. How do you go about communicating this stuff with two different groups? One being, I hate the word consumer, so let's call it customer. Being one group, how do you get them to care? How do you communicate this stuff? How do you talk to them about it? Number two is the employees, the internal people, the culture of your companies. How do you get folks internally to get tuned on to this stuff, and is it working? And we might as well just go down the line unless someone just wants to jump on out there.
Yeah, I think for us, communication of our mission and being transparent with it is a really big piece, especially for the customer-facing side. For the employees, it's a little bit more innate because they're involved with it on a day-to-day basis. But on the customer-facing side, we have wholesale customers, so about 80% of our business is us selling our products to other stores around the country, like RAI, like Urban Outfitters, like Nordstrom, and then they're reselling. And then the other 20% is our direct-to-consumer business, where whether through one of our stores, we have one in Old City and then another one that we're opening up around the corner here on Walnut Street in a few weeks. We have that additional level of interaction with the customer, and then our website. So through those three kind of customer-facing channels, being transparent through photo, through video, are really two big ways to show what we're doing and how we measure our impact. So
over the past 4 years now, we've done 110 cleanups across 22 different U.S. states, and every one of those cleanups, staff member from United by Blue, if not more, has been to, and during their time there, they're taking photo, they're taking video, and we actually weigh every single pound of trash that we can pick out of the riverway or take off the beach, and those become the metrics that we then use to put on our website. And you can now go to our website and scroll back all the way to, I don't know what date it was, like April 2010 when we did our first cleanup. And you can see kind of the progression of all the different locations that we've been to, the volunteers that we interacted with in those locations, the pounds of trash that we've had there. That's been really important for us to kind of communicate our mission and our story to our consumers. I think that has a kind of direct impact on the understanding of our brand as well. And then on the employee level, we have a small team. I was talking to Robert about this a little bit. Actually, we have 8 staff members that work on the core piece of the business, but with our retail stores, we just about doubled that. So now we have probably about 16 or 20 people now that are involved in the business. And when the biggest piece, I think, is in the hiring process, is finding people that are already bought into the social, environmental aspect of what United by Blue is. If they don't have that kind of drive, and if they're not asking the right questions during that initial interview, you can really gauge what the person's going to be like, and if they're going to come out on a Saturday morning, and if they're going to get in the car and drive with us, 4 hours to go do a cleanup on a Saturday. You know that in their first interview a lot of times. You can see if they really care about it, and we try to find those people that do really care. That often translates to, what if they're working in a store, that's going to translate in the way that they talk to a customer. If they're working in our offices, whether they're working on product development, or if they're working on cleanup planning, that's going to translate to the results that they're producing. So, kind of ways that we
Yeah, I think that's key when you when you're interviewing a person, like you just said. You can really go out where their heart is, or where they're coming from, or what they're where they're at in life. As to is it about just getting money? Is it about helping society, or whatever? So I think that's very much a key in getting a team, is the interview process. But I think being an example, the leaders of the business, myself as one, to be a leader and an example of what you want, or who you are, and what direction you want to go is so important as well. And then having a good product is really important. Having a quality product, is really important. So, like, we have a licensed Q grader who's our chief therapist, who has a degree. Well, he's a licensed Q grader, and there's only less than 2,000 in the world like him. So, that getting good quality people and really care about the product. We cup our coffee, if not every day, every other day, to make sure the quality is there and is what it should be. So, yeah, and we very much encourage the employees. We only have 8, but we have meetings once a week at least on different parts, like marketing, have other meetings during the week as well. But we really encourage their ideas and thoughts, and actually move with the good thoughts and ideas our employees have, because sometimes they're smarter in some areas than what we are, what the leadership is. So I think that's really important as well.
I think my employees are always smarter. I'll be honest, we've been around about 12 years, and we're about 40 people today. We became a B corporation about 4 years ago, which we're supposed to be doing our research portion right now. I probably shouldn't be doing that. And to be frank, we didn't do a very good job of communicating this at all. I struggled when I started my business with whether to start a for-profit or a non-profit. I've done a lot of work in local government, both in Japan and here in Philadelphia for several years. I had a desire to do work that was had a civic impact, but I didn't really know anything about running a nonprofit. I'd never worked in one and didn't know how to start one and operate one. So I sort of defaulted to a for-profit because I felt like I understood how it worked. But from the start, we largely operated as a social enterprise. We took on projects that had that character to them. And about 7 or 8 years in, we realized that this was something that was really part of who we were as a company, but we didn't articulate it very well. And our real reasoning for becoming a B Corporation was to help us, give us a shorthand to sort of better articulate what we were about. It's been, for us anyway, it's been phenomenally successful. In terms of how we talk about things today, it's not just the B Corporation label, but talking about front and center of those things that we do and what our mission is. It's the first thing out of your mouth. And the second thing is to describe why you do those things. For our staff, I think our staff have generally been more clued in about who we were and what we did, despite the fact that we can talk about it really well. That's changed over time, and I think since we became a B Corporation, I would say that somewhere on the order of 80 to 90% of the people that we interview today cite that as one of the reasons they're interviewing with us. That's just an incredibly powerful impact. It's been a much higher level of commitment and interest in what we're doing.
I would just say that, if you can contrast the Plum business to the Campbell business traditionally, the customer-consumer piece, we actually sell to retailers, so I say Sainsbury's and Arkansas customers. You were the consumer. But we communicate to consumers in different ways at different points in time, mainly through cause marketing. But the customers are actually folding this in as part of the business plan, joint business plan, so we can understand a Walmart strategy and help them achieve their strategy. Plum is much more like the rest of the panel, where it started out as a small company, 60 to 100 people max total, and people were coming to the company because it was a mission-driven company. It was part of everything they said. It was part of everything they did. It was part of the brand promise. It was part of the product promise. They just, dying to feed the best food to the little people across the world. That was what they were coming to work for every day. And that's one of the things that at Campbell we're trying to find that. That's what Campbell was created for originally. But it was to find that company purpose. We did some work on that a little while ago. Neil was involved. I was involved. And I think you'll see over time us figuring out how to better communicate some of this mission, much like a B Corp does today. And we're not the only company. There's a lot of big companies that are moving from this space of product attributes to purpose.
Great. So I've got loads of questions, but I wanted to just ask one more because really I want you guys to get the juices flowing here. But just to riff off a little bit about particularly what you two guys just said, which you sort of articulated a little bit about what the payoff is here in terms of this whole story of sustainability. You mentioned, Robert, that something like 15% of your customers are talking about this. I don't know if that was the exact number that you used, but the customers are approaching you talking about it. And you talk about particularly, finding quality employees, retention, and so on. I wondered if you could just to sort of rearticulate that a little bit more and tell us a little bit more about just let's get back to the straight business case of why we should care about this stuff. And the second part is, are there risks associated with this? Are there risks, particularly with different certifications, of being perhaps more transparent than some of your competitors? Or are there risks in putting effort into sustainability that might have a longer term payoff than some of the investors or other stakeholders might like? So payoffs and risks. Put you on the spot, Mike.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I think for us, and speaking on the payoff side, that's kind of the reason we started the business. It was kind of the reverse of what you would normally think. Is
there's another business kind of operating, and we were donating 5% of proceeds to ocean conservation efforts, and wanted to do something that was more tangible and something that we felt like we could actually physically organize and do ourselves. And the product was actually a byproduct of us wanting to do the mission on our own. So it was kind of, we want to clean up trash from we really, adamant about ocean conservation and figured out what topic of the many ocean conservation issues we wanted to tackle, and that was the pollution problem. And came up with a mission from there, and then from that it was like, well, what is the product line going to be? That first season that we launched United by Blue, it was literally just a line of 4 T-shirts, and it is now a much larger brand than that, but it was really kind of a, I don't know, the means to justify the end of what we were trying to get to, and that was our only selling point, because the T-shirts were organic, the designs were subpar, and and really we were selling crew neck T-shirts and trying to size them different for men's and women's and call them men's and women's clothing. We knew nothing about the apparel industry, so at that point we were really selling the mission, but kind of relating back to the original question, I think that was also what allowed us to grow, because without that mission, then none of the stores that picked us up that first year, or even picked us up the second year when we had just 8 designs and still just marginally better, it was because of our mission and because we were actually out there doing the work. The first year we did 10 cleanups and we were 10,000 pounds of trash. We were really proud of that. We were able to tell our wholesale customers that, and tell new potential wholesale customers that, and kind of down the line figured out that, in order to make this a sustainable business model and really grow this, that we needed to focus more on the actual product side of things and become an actual brand and really get into the product development side of things and create products that consumers want regardless of the mission. And the mission is something that continues to drive value. But to go back to the original point, I think it really was a core piece of our business growth was our mission, and it's still to this day, when we pick up new wholesale customers, it is one of the first things that come out of our mouth at a trade show, or one of the first things that come out of one of our sales reps' mouth is what our mission is, and how important that is to these customers and to the end line consumer. Even I think that is a lot of times the selling point to our product. When you get down to it, when you're looking at our $36 T-shirt or our $98 woven shirt compared to what you could go buy off the rack at J. Crew or Gap, a lot of times they pick up the tag and you turn the tag around, you read our mission, and that's kind of the connection point a lot of times. And I think that it works for our wholesale customers and our retail customers. That's been a major upside. We talked about the detractors as well of sometimes committing to the mission. Sometimes it's scary to see as we grow. REI is a new customer of ours in the past 2 years, and they order in a lot larger volumes. They have 141 stores across the country, and we now have product shipping to all those stores. So with each of those products, we're committing to remove a pound of trash. And with an 8-person staff, it's kind of like, wow, we have to really ramp up what we're doing to make sure that this model that we have built over the first 4 years is going to continue to stay sustainable, and we're going to be able to continue to uphold the back end of our mission, which is really at the core of our company. So there's definitely, I think there's way more positives than negatives.
One thing with our business, coffee, I think what turn that our business made was once we started to visit the farms where the coffee came from and realized how hard the farmers work, their whole families involved sometimes, and really how much they cared about each berry that they picked, made us, and when we came back and told the rest of the staff, it kind of was ingrained in us, like, we got to take good care of this coffee because these farmers really care, and we want to care as much as them, if not more, and really produce a product that will represent their deep care and concern in their whole, their whole fabric involved in this coffee. And so we also would like to communicate, to the consumer as much as we can, about that whole thing, although it doesn't happen as much as you'd like. The other thing is we had to find a balance as to how much to give and how much to not give to stay in business. Initially, we started in our basement, and our first thing was to help children in Honduras, because my nephew's a Honduran physician, and he has a malnutrition center, so we're deworming children in Honduras. We were really cooking at it, but we had, or going to it, but we had to really, put the brakes on, because, that was why we got into business. We want to help, right? We want to make a difference, but then we had to draw back until we, could stay on our feet in a way that made sense, so that we could then start to give when we knew, how much we could give. So those are some things that we learned, and I guess are still learning to a degree. Yeah.
Payoffs and risks. There are a lot of them. I described a lot of both payoffs and risks. I described earlier how this has helped us create a better team of people that are more aligned with our mission. I'll get into that. But the payoffs are also, I think, selfish ones. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be proud of what I'm doing. I want to wake up in the morning and not wonder why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I was fortunate enough to have an experience several years ago. My first job out of graduate school was in Philadelphia Police Department. I worked there as a crime analyst, and myself and another guy started the crime analysis. And when we were initially hired, no one cared that we were there, which turned out to be beneficial in the long run. So it gave us a chance to get our feet under us. Those are new positions. The crime analysis was not something I could do. And that went on for about 6 months, where we had a chance to really learn what we needed to do and how to do it. A very supportive boss. And it was very interesting. Coming out of graduate school, interesting, intellectually challenging. So then the mayor hired the police commissioner, and the new police commissioner was brought in. John Toomey was hired to be the police commissioner. He decided he was bringing a concept from New York City called CompStat. He decided he wanted to implement CompStat in Philadelphia. And suddenly, everything we were doing around data analytics was going to be the mechanism by which he was going to bring accountability to the way in which police captains and the police department did its work. And suddenly we were at the center of how things were going to get done. It wasn't data for data's sake. Data analytics was in the service of accountability, public safety, and bringing down crime. And every day I got up and I got to go to the office and do stuff that was really hard, intellectually challenging, and incredibly meaningful. And I could see it in the stats. I could see crime coming down, and I could see people talking about how the city was becoming safer, and that this was happening. And I wanted that. I loved it. I loved that really positive feeling of what I'm doing is very meaningful. And very important. It felt good. So I had another job for a couple of years that was, it was also in city government, and I didn't have the same kind of feeling. When I started the company, I wanted to get back to that. I wanted to get back to a sense of, why did I wake up this morning? I'm not going to wonder that at all. What I'm doing has impact. And it's selfish, but it's really compelling. When I want to work with other people, they're like,
yeah, I'll just be quick. I think that from a publicly traded company's perspective, the risks are primarily being balanced in what we talk about. We can't only tell the good story, we have to tell the full story. Right? We have to be careful when we write our CSR report and we do our 10K disclosures, or we're talking to customers or consumers, that we're not cherry picking just the good stories, which is pretty easy to do and kind of fun to do, but it's something we have to guard against because we'll get called out on. The pros, though, are much more they outnumber the economics. And if you take a look at, whether you're a small business or a big business, just go through the functions of the business, whether it's HR, staffing, and using CSR and sustainability as a communication tool for attracting talent, onboarding, training, benefits, employee engagement, getting on volunteering core aspects, risk reduction in the supply chain, long-term sustainable ag programs that actually put resiliency into the business. It's just a whole potpourri of great work that we can do. And one of the things that I know that B-Lab is working on too, that small and big companies can do, is use the framework for the B-Lab and apply that to your supply base, right, and your suppliers. It's another way to kind of take a B-Lab and actually let your suppliers know as well. So it's just, I would say the pluses are immeasurable. You just got to be smart, especially when you're a big company.
Thanks, guys. Who's ready for a question? There's at least someone out there. Go.
I don't know how long you've been with the company, but you recall some of the Band-Aid when you first started in sophomore, being pushed through in terms of this is what we need to be doing, how do we accomplish this. How some of the building supplies were customers in today. You sell the countertops, that was a better business in 35 years, managing real estate, under Allen Gore's largest owner of the plot in real estate. They didn't know idea where the managers came from. They don't really know why we do it, what they do, and they do it now, and they're very knowledgeable. They just turned out left. And for banking, they really do one of the last businesses to really embrace sustainability policies and bring down that was a really good to the customer work. That's really been one of the things that you have a good sense of history and how it's going through, and is it working really taking on momentum?
Yeah, the short answer, is I've been there about 6 years, and I was hired to kind of put this strategy together, make it a business strategy. I spent 12 years in Intel where I created a similar function there and ran here on the West Coast. But there's kind of pockets of people driving all of this stuff, right? They were doing it for the sake of doing it, right? They were saving water, maybe you're trying to grow in the community, and they were watching the external world in our sector and seeing other companies declare goals and declare statements and file public reports. They kind of felt this tension they needed to do something. Shareholders were asking about it. So there was this mandate to do it. They just didn't really know what it was or how to get it. I remember when I interviewed, I asked Doug, who was the CEO, in part of the interview process, what does success look like? I said, I don't know. So I said, well, I kind of have my own picture. Who do you want to know? Right? If you're successful, who's the audience? And he said his employees and his customers. So that kind of helped me frame it. And it's something you can use whether you're a bitty business or a great big business. If you think about all the stuff we talked about from an audience perspective, break up your audience, suppliers, customers, employees, neighbors. Think about what you want them to know and how you want them to act. You can help drive some strategies as well. And that was the interesting thing. The 146-year-old company, they were doing things all along, but they were driving it as a business.
We'll go with you and then Jamie next. So we'll do relatively short answers.
So my company is involved with consumers, business, and policy, trying to grow and support people in because that would be great to do in San Francisco and New York, where they have a lot of vehicles. How can we help? What can we do to encourage other businesses to become networks or just build a better business model for new startups?
Events like this. Hopefully, we write about it.
Yeah.
We're trying to. We have a whole series on the site written by Ryan Honeyman, who's just written a book about B Corp. It's called the B Corp Handbook. We invited him to do a column, so he's doing a weekly column. It's our little pitch. Check it out. Share it with your friends. Share it with your colleagues. Share it with the skeptics. Maybe that'll help. How about you guys?
Excuse me, I'm involved in a lot of coffee tastings throughout the region and meet a lot of interesting people, and some of them are business owners, and I get an opportunity to tell them about B Corp. I don't know what the results are, but I think to be verbal and upfront when you have the opportunity is important. That's, I mean, that's my simple.
You know, and I'd also add, that along with any other sustainability topic, it's about making the business case, because, everybody cares about this stuff, but it's not everybody's life. And at the end of the day, people, want to hear what's the tangible business case for why I need to do this. And so if you can articulate that, that's what really makes the difference.
I think it's good to be sensitive and not, drown them with it. But if they start asking questions, then it's a good sign. That's kind of my view.
Yeah, go for it.
Perspectives. I get asked by other entrepreneurs who are starting up startups about B corporations and what should they do that? Should I become a B corporation? In many cases, I actually say no.
Here's your problem.
In many respects, enabling a business to survive, pay employees, and make it turn out like just break even. It's a really, really hard thing, and you need to be focused entirely on that thing. And that may be because my perspective is as a company that was successful in growing, we came to corporations later as a way to sort of recognize, articulate, sort of talk about who we were. Young businesses trying to make it need to focus on survival and creating a great business, and then they aren't going to be worrying about writing the employee handbook out of the gate. Like, that's not the thing they need to be worried about. I would also say that, as fabulous and proud as I am that we are more than 1,000 B corporations, that is a tiny, tiny drop in the ocean. And we probably aren't going to change the world by turning all the corporations, or even a significant portion, into B corporations. And so my perspective is that B Labs and B corporations are a catalyst. It's a way to change the culture, a way to change the expectations of what business is all about. It's a way to have a conversation, not necessarily the end itself. And so my objective would not be to turn everyone into a B corporation, but to turn every B corporation into a leader that upholds the rest of the culture and the business ecosystem into a different way of doing business.
Jamie.
My question was similar to you decide whether it's too similar and started. But by and large, I find that the true bottom line businesses that I come across, whether they're business or not, in the SBA community or more broadly, are run by people who come to it already with business issues. And so they, their mission was a focus, and they built a business to drive that mission. And their company is building people that will be similar. How do we get other businesses that are not run by people that have that internal drive, that come with that internal drive, not to become people, but just to see business in a different way, and to operate in a sustainable way, or understand the bottom line. It's like, this is a good example of how I was asked to serve on the panel at the EPA to talk about our businesses and why they, became sustainable businesses. That they wanted to use that information to help some of the manufacturers. I had a difficult time because I'm like, they want it to, right? Like, our business is doing what they want to do. How do you translate that? How do you bring other people into the movement if they don't have that?
Yeah, that's a huge question. Anyone who wants to raise their hand, it'd be interesting to hear our perspective. I mean, my perspective is we talk about it, and we try to present a whole spectrum of things we call sustainability. And we do it really loosely. I mean, because we'll talk about energy, and that's an easy one. Oh, it saves you money. Boom. Okay, now we care, right? But then you can get into way more difficult to measure issues, and some things are hits and some things are misses. But from our perspective as media, I mean, we're just preaching about this topic all the time. We're always attempting to prove that there's some kind of connection between everything. So as long as you start to realize, well, there's stuff I don't really care about, but somehow I at least recognize that somehow down the line it's connected to the stuff I do care about, I feel like you'll start to expand the consciousness of people in general. And hopefully that makes a difference. I mean, that's, I believe, one of our roles for what we do. I don't know about you guys, or I mean, it's a terrific existential core question.
I mean, the thread, though, if you listen to the small business men on the panel, is they're trying to drive business, right? They're leveraging triple bottom line sustainability, this kind of mission to drive their business. And that's, I think, the cusp. If we're going to try to convince companies that they need to think in a triple bottom line way, or they need to embrace sustainability, that's where we fail. What we need to do is work with them to make them better businesses. Make the marketing people better marketers, make the R&D people better R&D people, not teach them about sustainability. But leverage the stuff that we bring to the table from a mission perspective or from an expertise perspective or from a sustainability perspective. I think, for better or worse, sometimes I think the language hinders that. So the more we can help the business be a better business, using the sustainability kind of expertise we bring to the table, I think it helps.
Why don't we go? Yeah, right there. And then we'll go.
A real quick question about the organic acquisitions, obviously big news out of the world. But did you get any curiosity or pushback from your analyst community?
From our analyst community?
From the Wall Street?
No. I mean, if you watch, no. The short answer is no. I mean, we have primary business drivers to kind of grow our core business, expand into faster growing spaces, and grow globally. And we've had those for a while, and we communicate those to us. This fits right in the middle of the growing faster growing businesses. They can see the growth trajectory. It's a part of the portfolio we don't have. It's a consumer base we may have lost a little bit over time. It fits with our product portfolio, the distribution overlays. Similar to the reaction in the market 2 weeks ago when General Mills bought Annie's for 37% or 50% over value, over their market cap. Again, great reaction from the investor base. What we did get, and what Annie's and General Mills got, is a bunch of people really reacting negatively that were really passionate about their brand. They sold out to the big guy. They sold out to the man. I mean, and now they're part of the evil empire.
But the technical, the corporation transfer, that raised any concerns from the government's point of view? Was there a pushback from sort of formal?
We had conversations inside of our company. Right? There was a reason we were able to get that done in such a short period of time, and there's happy to talk about it at some other point. I won't take up all the time, but yeah, I mean, if you're a lawyer and there's zero case history on this, we could be sued for doing one thing on one side of our business and sued for the opposite on the other side of our business from the same set of shareholders. Yeah, all kinds of
It's a bold thing, so I'm hoping to hear that nobody might.
Yeah, it's but no, from the external community, it was not a it comes a wholly owned subsidiary. We are their shareholders, so there's ways to manage this. We can.
I was just going to comment on the previous question. We're thinking of the very large companies, Fortune 500 companies, and when we go into these companies, we expect to find people who have all different perspectives and reasons for and wanting to engage in sustainability practices or not. And we find them both. We find the or nots, and so I think as you said, you present a whole spectrum of reasons to engaging these practices, from it makes sense economically, you're saving money, to you do operations, and everything is true. And what's very interesting is that you find people who latch on to one part of that business case to begin with or another. And so it doesn't really matter which reason they're choosing to attach to and then be motivated by and do the work for. What matters is that they come together and figure out what the work is, what makes the most sense, and actually contribute.
Yeah.
I just want to add to both that, to James' point, that I love Robert's answer, by the way, that you first have to strive, be viable. I think we all be candid too with ourselves and others that there's dumb ideas, right? And so, for example, if I'm going to put Egyptian cotton in all the chairs, white, and they're staying all the time, it's not a good investment, $5 a chair. But to Jamie's point, when you're committed to just finding solutions, you'll eventually find good ones. So I think we're on the 2 million plastic bottle save, which we abolished many years ago. It's a terrible for the planet. But in addition, it saves 10 grand a year on plastic bottles, right? So these are good bottom line solutions. But there's times that I'm in grad school and Brandy wine where they're not incentivized to do all the lighting LED because they're not the users of this, right? But it's cheaper, but but these are rational conversations, and we don't do everything perfect. But I know years ago we had a darn survive, right? And we had made some hard decisions, but you eventually continue to evolve by. We can't have paper V8 bottles because we'll explode, right? Like, so they're still in plastic bottles, but these are some pragmatic questions. Let's all put our noggins together and there's better ways to solve problem by problem. But it's a pitfall. It's business, rational business first.
It's true because like we couldn't afford compostable bags. We couldn't because it was so expensive. But now finally we're at a point where we can. So you have to be, like you said, rational about it.
I think it's a spectrum thing. You have to assume that some people aren't going to care, and that's okay. But I think the kinds of things that eLabs has done, which is attack this from a lot of different directions, from a legal perspective, creating a framework within which to make these kinds of decisions and to make them attractive is the most powerful thing. For the first time, like we ran across a request for proposal on RFP, which is how we often do business. First time we've ever run across one where they asked us to demonstrate our commitment to social impact. And as soon as you start to see those kinds of questions get asked, and that becomes the standard, now it's in everyone's business interest. If you're going to bid on that project, you're going to have to demonstrate. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm a startup. I'm brand new. I'm about to celebrate my 6-month anniversary. I have 3 part-time employees, 2 of whom are new this past 3 weeks. You touched on that already, and I really appreciate your answer for that. I wanted to ask more about if you had any additional thoughts about the timing, or if you had any thoughts about if you'd rather you become a B Corp sooner or later, and how that influenced the evolution of the business, especially in startups.
So specifically to become a B Corp timing?
Yeah, timing.
Okay. Anyways.
I was not being entirely fair before. I think there are really good arguments for becoming a B corporation out of the gates. And it probably has to do with the kind of business you're engaged in and how it's going to grow. But what I was trying to say was get your business model right first. Figure out if you're a viable business, and that may be part of how your business model works. The B corporation may make sense. In our case, glad we did it the time we did it. I wish I'd done it 2 or 3 years earlier. We could have, but.
I would say go for it and see if it fits your model right now, and check it out. It doesn't cost you anything. It's really hard anything.
And what's interesting about it is even if you're not ready to commit, you can always download the assessment and just go through it. And it's a useful experience whether you go through it or not, because it's going to get your head thinking about a whole bunch of different topics. And that's going to be easy. That's actually kind of difficult. Better for that. You'll have a quick answer after a couple hours, wouldn't it?
And that's actually how we became a B corporation. We took the assessment, we changed his organization, made us do it, and we joined. So we joined SBM, like that was the first, that was the gateway drug. And then they made us take the B-Labs assessment, and I'm like, oh, we passed. Oh, that's cool. I don't know, I don't think I'm ready to do this. And I shelved it for 8 or 9 months, but it kept working on me in the back of my mind. A year later.
So I promise you we keep it to an hour, but we do have a little bit of time. But if we could just go kind of quick, we'll go with you and then we'll get to you. And then we probably got 1 or 2 more. So
I was just going to add that I run an accelerator for social entrepreneurs. We always have to do that. People coming in early. Most of our companies are far too early to score a meaningful result from the assessment. But there's no roadmap. And there are a few decisions that need to be made early on. You can't go back on this, how you treat your employees, which is and some other structural considerations. So it's a good idea for people to think that they're not in a position to have a lot of external effects that would measure the SBN requires an investor circle, which is an investor that requires state companies to have to be on our story. It's a good plan if we're not ready to go with it.
You're all hired.
Do you want to comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing that everyone else has said, is that Marie and I, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs who go through the impact assessment initially, and it's just a roadmap. It gives them a equal lens, basically, of like, oh, this is stuff that I can do later on with that framework.
There are people who look through it and say, oh, I never even remotely considered that, and it's now impacting my life.
So you guys, I'm sorry to jump in, but the folks who are kind of championing the B Corp cause, which I'm not on the fence, I'm supportive of, it's an interesting business proposition we've heard. Have you guys considered talking to the Bar Association? Because I suspect the lawyers that create at least legal structure, that at least I come in contact with wouldn't know a B Corp that didn't in the case. And so I'm educating that place as well so that they can start to pitch it to clients who might even also be able to flush.
I actually know the answer to that question. You know, yeah, I sit on a subcommittee of the Bar Association, and they are extremely well aware of the courts and the benefit corporation legislation. They have white papers on it. They are not entirely enamored. There's a lot of, respect in the legal community, there's a lot of debate.
I'm not talking about
But they do program it too on what it is.
so the Bar Association is one of those, it's not really what I'm talking about. So the Bar Association is the kind of within the big kind of organization where they're paid to do the attention to. And so for all kinds of folks, it's a personal view. So I'm really talking about kind of local legal groups. So again, they all have their local institutions in each of the cities that you're dealing with. To get to somebody to start to message locally about that, whether it's the corporations, folks that are incorporating people locally. Because again, at some point, somebody's going to call either SBN or SBN is going to talk to a lawyer about creating paperwork. If the person's not familiar with what you're talking about, then there's another sort of road to fly. So again, I'm happy to chat about the line.
No, I'm not saying the ABA is the way to go, but all I'm saying is that in the legal community, there is a fairly heightened awareness of E-Corp legislation. In fact, the guy who was the spearhead for it is right here. So, yeah, Jim.
But I don't think they're in the corporate legal groups, I think. They just don't have to be, so that they're not, it's not something to pay attention to. And it's probably something for small businesses that are starting up that have to go to be acquired at some point to think about, right? If you're gonna be a sole proprietor for your life, it's not something you worry about. But there's business development folks inside companies. There's lawyers that manage the agreements. And really, I mean, what we want to do at Plum and what you would expect most of you want to do if you ever sell your company is to keep that mission. Part of it is educating that audience, because in the old days you would buy a company and swallow them up. Now you buy a company for that mission, and you want to keep it pure.
Well, what's interesting is that a lot of companies that we approach, it's not necessarily the lawyers that are companies that are like, no, we don't want you to do this. And it's really interesting because it's a lot of times that we don't want to do it. So they immediately think to really incorporate, so they're going to reincorporate their business, and that's not necessarily the case. It's a certification most of the time. Yes. So I can argue that we don't.
I have to share about that. My accountant's sitting here tonight. So you might want to ask him what I did or didn't say that brought him in. I mean, you don't have to now.
No, I will say to my early customers, and I did that assessment about a year and a half into my business, and I failed. But I'm a good guy. and but I failed it, and I was like, wow, I guess I do need to actually be aware, you know, as my business model was evolving and maturing, I was able to take the steps that were necessary. They passed down for years. But I will say, maybe to your point, and also to your point on the account, because we see a lot of things with early, you know, early formation steps for companies. And there's a network of small security firms that I'm a part of called Thrive. And you know, next month I'm going to be doing a community headquarters with our group of maybe 100 different small security firms, and I'm going to explain to them the difference between the B Corp certification and the benefit corp. I'm going to explain, you know, how it's treated from a tax perspective, which you think it's different from a tax perspective, but it's not. It's still a regular corporation. And so those are some pretty basic things, but boy, we're going to have 100 big firms that are going to be like, wow, I get it. And maybe that's going to happen.
Fantastic. Now you want to wrap us up with some thoughts?
Just to answer the question, having looked at it, as you've been in business 10 years, looked at it once, and we're a community business in the past 4 times. I think if your primary stakeholder are either your employees or your customers, it makes a lot of sense to do a B Corp. Maybe your primary stakeholders can be the community, the shareholders, the employees, your customers. We need to order, we need to sort of sort them. And our customers and our employees were never high on the list. Except in one part of our business, maybe 2 or 3 years into it, our employees really became a lot more important, and the customers became a lot more important. And then that changed again. I think if those 2 things to attract talent really says something about you if you're looking for. And also, I think if you're a new business and you know you need awareness out there, it says a lot about you to the customer as well. If you have a green type of product or you're looking for that type of customer, those are the 2 things that are good for customers.
Yeah, this is what we love to happen tonight as the conversation starts to flow. I promise everybody we keep this room to a relative minimum. So I'd love it if we could just roll the conversation to the other room. There's plenty of snacks and beer left. We'll stick around as long as John permits us to. And you want one more last thought? Oh yeah, please.
So if you liked the conversation that we had tonight, in partnership with B-Lab, our current 4C is hosting what we call Build a Better Business Workshop. It's based on Ryan Honeyman's new book coming out very soon, and we'll sort of go over the advantages of the B Corp certification, also go through the stuff. We'll have some fellow B Corps coming to speak as well. I'm sure if you're interested. I have sign-up sheets, and I also have push cards.
Jamie, quickly, yeah.
I just wanted to say that in partnership with B-Lab, we're launching a quick impact assessment. So it's a way for businesses to find out about the B assessment and go through some of the areas that for instance about the power as opposed to like so fast. So the website is beimpactassessment.net/SD. It's a really great way to educate yourself about leadership, about online business, and about the business.
Terrific. Well, guys, thank you all for coming. Thanks for welcoming us to Philly. We're having a terrific time. We hope you'll follow along on Triple Funded, and we hope that we'll be in touch with you. We hope to be back. I want a quick round of applause for everybody. As I mentioned, this conversation just got started, so hang out, let's have a beer and keep talking.